at you with.
Cool. Is there a
Let's
link
see.
to share with anybody else?
Are we live? I think we are live right now. This is
All right,
is
fantastic.
Is this a thing? Are we live?
I couldn't tell you, man.
I'm trying to find out on my second screen here if we're showing up on the live.
Let's see, Facebook.
Let's see.
Oh,
Did it work?
yeah.
Did it work? Oh, it worked. Hey, how about that? Hey, we're live.
live.
All right. Let me get that shared on.
Let me share this to
That's one of the positives about having like a restream where it just does it automatically. You don't have to be like, hold on a second, I gotta share this like 3 different places while I'm trying to talk and think about what I'm going to say. I guess I could like write something ahead of time and like copy and paste it. But anyway, let's see. Come hang out with at Eric and I as
weird. There's a little bit of a lag, so.
Oh yeah, that's most. Yeah, usually that there's like a 10-second, 15-second delay.
Now, do we see the messaging from people, or do we have to keep it open?
We should see the comments on the right-hand side where it says comments. So this is our first time, or my first time, and I guess Eric's first time using StreamYard to power this interview that I'm doing here for MapCon 5. Normally I'd be wearing a MapCon shirt, but I literally just got done eating dinner, so please excuse my lack of MapCon fanboyism. Anyway, I'm Super Joe Pardo for anyone that doesn't know, and I have the honor of having to my left or my right, depending on how you're looking at it, Eric Hunley of the Unstructured Podcast. Eric, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, dude. I'm super excited about this and the conference.
I'm just super excited to have to get to actually sit down and do one of these podcast episodes because I've had 2 hosts since the last time I've ran one. We had Amy J of Chasing Dreams, and we had Chi. I'm always blinking on his last name. Odagwu. I'm not sure how to say it. Yeah, something like that. I apologize, Chi. I don't recall asking you how to pronounce your last name for it, like in the last few years, so I apologize for that. But both did a great job, and I'm just happy to be able to jump back in and take over the hosting responsibilities for this show that I started like 3 years ago. Anyway, Eric, why don't we get started by pulling up the questions first, because I don't. What happened to my file? There it is. Okay, cool. Why don't we get started by starting with the first question? What can listeners expect from the Unstructured Podcast? Because the Unstructured Podcast, to me, I've been on the show. It's a great show. You're a great host. But what draws me in about the show is the logo. I love your logo. It just oozes fanciness. But what can listeners generally expect on what do you think they should expect?
Well, outside the fanciness, hopefully original interviews that, even though you may have heard some of the guests before, you haven't heard them asked the same questions in the same manner. That's kind of been my tete d'oeuvre. I don't know what would be the right term for that, but I really try to have an original interview for every episode that I can. And on occasion, I will even do something different or controversial, like you and I are going to be back on together interviewing with Christopher Lockett tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little underprepared for said interview.
It'll be fun.
It will be fun. It will be fun. I'm looking forward to debating about something you and I, Eric, have talked a ton about, which is podcast bookers and whether or not we as podcasters should be charging guests, specifically guests that are paying somebody else to get them on our show. So that's a hot topic. A lot of people have a lot to say about it. I have a lot to say about it.
Absolutely.
And it's not perfect. It's messy. It's just like most things in life.
True, but that's what makes it good. I kind of feel like it's a subject on the rise, as more and more podcasts come through and you have more and more booking agencies, I mean, you were just talking to me about a booker you were speaking to earlier, and I hadn't even heard of her. And I mean, I know like 6, 7 booking agencies. There's also publicists. It just is such a growing field that I can't help but see a collision ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've talked extensively about that off air. And I'm not willing to commit to anything just yet. That's for sure.
More to come.
Yeah, there's definitely more to come. So, Eric, what does podcasting mean to you?
Wow. I don't have a deep philosophical thing. I've often said before I was a podcasting fan years before I was a podcaster, but I couldn't really, through imposter syndrome and everything else, find the right subject to do. Thus, the unstructured concept, which is kind of loosely based. I'm a spinoff of Mixed Middle Arts. And have you heard of Thaddeus Russell?
No.
He's kind of an off-kilter historian, very contrarian. He has a podcast called Unregistered. So I won't say that the name didn't kind of have a slight influence on me as well. He actually has gone through AA, and he likes having really deep, in-depth conversations with people he has on, and often they're contrarian. So I kind of went at it to get with intellectuals or pseudo-intellectuals and to try to talk deeply, and I've sort of branched out from there. Now I'm leaning a bit more into communication in terms of that body language, podcasting, interviewing. I just love the actual subject of interviewing itself. I find that quite fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've done my fair share of interviewing, and I love getting to learn from other people's stories. To me, that's just the that's just like awesome, right? Like I don't read a lot of books, but I read a lot of people through getting to interview people and listening to their stories and learning from their stories.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's some of the takeaways that you've had from doing your podcast? Because you've been podcasting for like a year now, right?
Yeah, just over a year. March 15th was
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm 100 and I'll be releasing 142.
Woo!
Coming up. So what are my takeaways? Good Lord. This will sound silly, but my biggest takeaway is probably that everyone's awesome. And I know that sounds really lame, but
everything is awesome.
Super Joe should understand that. No, everybody really is. If you start digging at them, you'll find, wow, you did what? Or you know who? Or you hang out with what? But we take it for granted because that's just our lives. So if you start just really digging down, you'll find out that, wow, you really think of that in an interesting manner, or you have a very interesting background in whatever you do.
Yeah, I would say when doing the Dreamers podcast and still podcasting and getting to interview so many interesting people, like I always thought like, oh, my story is pretty cool, and like, I'm sure people will find it interesting. But then like I interviewed some of these people and I'm like, whoa, like they are doing way cooler things than me. Like it's but it's always that piece that's like, well, I'm not in their shoes. I'm not the one doing what they're doing. So sure. Of course they're gonna have those types of experiences because they're doing it every single day. They're living, breathing, eating it,
That's the magic of interviewing, right? You get to live vicariously through them. I mean, I've had 5 FBI agents. I don't want to go put myself on the line, but I'll talk to those who did.
That is pretty cool. I haven't interviewed any FBI agents. That is a pretty cool job description to have, FBI agent.
Yeah, and they're all retired, so they made it through. And what's cool about them too is they're
what would be really cool if you could talk to dead ones.
Well, then why would I be talking to you? No.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You would have no reason because you'd be like, I could talk to the dead. I would talk to dead FBI agents and have way cool stories that end very tragically.
Exactly. I talked to Mark Twain, and hell, I talked to Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Hey. But no, I like the fact, though, that they're all different. One of them is a hostage negotiator. Two of them are profilers. Another one is she did financial crimes, and she's actually a major podcaster herself. She does the retired FBI case files. And the last one is Eugene Casey, and he is like an international FBI agent. He interviewed Carlos the Jackal. You and I are both old enough, I think, to remember that name.
Carlos the Jackal?
Yeah, remember the Bourne Identity?
Okay, yeah.
The character, the bad guy in that was Carlos the Jackal, based on the real Carlos the Jackal, loosely.
Okay.
And this guy actually interviewed him, but his life is the subject of the TV show Whiskey Cavalier, which is on right now.
Yeah. I had heard of that show.
That's a fun show. He's a technical consultant on it.
So, well, that in itself is pretty cool to have a topic that you're involved with that you get to be a consultant on, and
hell yeah! And the character is based on him.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. I can't say that for anything that I've done to this point, but again, he lived
a TV star.
Well, yeah, not yet. We're getting there. So, Eric, before we jump into the next round of questions, I just got to bring up that below you will find a 15% off discount code to MapCon 5, which this year, for the first time ever, is getting out of Swedesboro and moving to amazing Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the incredible Ocean Resort Casino. Have you seen much of the resort, Eric?
Yeah, I already booked.
Oh, awesome. Oh, great. That's awesome. I actually still have to book myself.
I'm not crazy. I wanted to get as best rates I could.
I got to make that happen myself. So if you are not crazy like Eric, maybe you should think about booking and using this discount code below to get 15% off your plus or premium ticket for MapCon. So you just go to the middlelandpodcast.com/register and type in MapCon5 for the promo code after you select your plus or premium ticket.
Tell them what's cool about it, because I really think you're kind of bearing the lead. One thing I really appreciate about your conference is I've done Podcast Movement, which is fantastic, except anyone who's doing Podcast Movement can't say that they did all of it, because there's multiple sessions at one time. You can't be everywhere at once. You've reverse engineered that, and you force everyone to be everywhere at once, quite literally.
We will get along, damn it. We will assimilate and we will have a great time in so. So yeah, so Eric, as Eric said, MapCon 5 takes place in one room. There's one stage, and that enables a lot of awesome things to happen. It enables people to get inside jokes going throughout the conference. You get to be around other podcasters that are, big names in the podcasting industry, like the whole time you're there. And it really enables a lot of opportunity to go get those interviews from those podcasters that you like, hey, I know that person. I want to, I know Eric Hunley. I want to make sure I get him on my podcast. Hey, let's go out in the hall, or let's go down to the casino floor and record, an interview at the bar or something. And that kind of stuff can happen. Or let's go out, hopefully it's nice. People don't realize it's September in New Jersey is it's like another summer. It's actually quite nice, and you go out on the beach and hey, get the waves in the background, and hear the seagulls going and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so having that one room enables everyone to feel and be closer and connected. We put upwards of 200 people in one room in a classroom style. So you're not like stuffed in like in a theater room where all the chairs are like lined up next to each other. You're in a classroom style, so you have like your own little work area with the desk and everything to get the most out of the conference. And so one of the things we also do is we have the creative podcast workshop, which enables you to get together with 3 other podcasters that you may or may not know, and you get an envelope with 6 words inside of it, and you will have about less than 30 minutes to craft a whole podcast for a 5-minute podcast that you will have to record and send to an email address, and they'll be judged, and the winning podcast will be announced on Saturday, the second day. I haven't even told. So what days is this, Joe? It is September 6th and 7th. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking, Eric. It is so the winning team will receive, we've been given Audio Technica podcasting like setup. So it's like ATR 2005 with a boom arm and the headphones and everything. So you have like a whole nother podcasting setup, like bam, like ready to go right there. And the winning team, each person in the winning team will receive one each. So
that's an upgrade from the 2100.
Is it the 2005?
Yeah, it's a little bit more.
Oh,
that's cool.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. I had no idea actually. So I love my 2100, but apparently the 2005 is an upgrade. So yeah, so that's just some of the reasons that that make MapCon really awesome. We'll get to a few more of those reasons that you need to make sure that you are at MapCon 5 in Atlantic City this year. After we get to Eric. And Eric, how did you get started? How did you get started with podcasting and being like, I'm going to get on a mic and I'm just going to get those interviews and getting really cool interviews? Like, and I think that's one of the great things about your show is like, you got some really amazing people that you get to come on your show.
I'm too dumb to think I can't ask somebody. No, honestly, everything kind of leads into everything else. So as far as interviews go, I'm turned down quite a bit too, or really more typically just ignored. I have a lot of stones that I've thrown across the lake. Hey, Tyson. And I've just tried to reach out to different people. I don't have a specific thing. A lot of it is just I'll hear somebody on a podcast, or I might read a book, or I'll just see a headline. Like a good example is right now there's a guy I found, he wrote an article about Napoleon Hill being the greatest scam artist or huckster of all time. So I totally want to get him on.
You sent me that article. I have yet to read it.
Oh, that's fine. It's a long article.
Yeah, well, and I'm a slow reader, so it will take me a very long time.
It's like half a book, but it's really cool, and it's one of those things. I feel like it's a contrarian view, and right now we are just so into self-improvement, self-help, etc. But I think that maybe we're carrying a little too far. So I want to kind of visit the other side of it.
Well, there was an article not that long ago where, what was it? Somebody wrote about how Gary Vee was trying to kill you with the whole hustle.
Oh yeah, hustle porn.
Yeah.
You're going to be on an interview tomorrow with me, with Christopher Lockhead, one of the guests I'm really proud to have had on, and he's dubbed it hustle porn. He's very against that. He's a 3 times Silicon Valley CMO, and he's into category creation and niching down, things like that. But he can't stand, as he puts it, the hustle porn stars like Gary Vee or Grant Cardone. The big one he really can't stand is Ty Lopez. And yes, I am dropping names. I don't mind. They won't listen to me anyway.
Well, Gary Vee has dialed himself back a little bit because he doesn't want to kill people, apparently. Like, so that's, I'm not a huge fan, but I can get behind the fact that he's willing to walk it back. But it's easy to walk it back when you've already been like,
exactly,
you've already made it. So it's like you already got known.
I'm more
it doesn't matter at this point.
I'm more into the Seth Godin style, which is, about teaching and building a message and taking a long time, things like that.
So, Brent Basham is saying, didn't he co-author Niche Down and Play Bigger? I'm not sure.
Christopher Lochhead did both. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic author.
I feel like I have heard of maybe both those books. I definitely have not read either of those books, but I definitely feel like
one's an audiobook, and I cornered him on the second one, which is recorded. Yeah, I don't have time to read anymore either.
Well, how would you if you're busy creating content and getting these guests and getting to play bigger, right? It's one of those things that it comes with the territory. So, Eric, what do you love about podcasting?
What I love about it, I also hate about it. It's one of those things that, the old joke where there's the good news and the bad news, and it's the same sentence. Well, you can use that with podcasting. It's never been easier to get into podcasting. That's the good news. Bad news. It's never been easier to get into podcasting. So I love the democracy of it, but I also hate the fact that there's just so much noise, so much out there to try to break through.
Well, with that said, do you think that the noise, a lot of the noise isn't necessarily worth it, right? Like it's not worth wading through. So do you think that takes away from or amplifies the sentiment of this is a great show is a great show
if you can get to it? Yeah, I mean that's really a hard thing. Is I've had Dave Jackson on and talked to him about it, and James Cridlin, but I feel like there's a Wayne's World quality to podcasting.
Elaborate.
The basic access cable. Steve Jobs talked about it with YouTube, but he might as well have said podcasting when he said amateur hour. And the thing is, I'm an amateur too. I'm still learning, but when there is such a wall of content, I fear that some people may hear one wrong show that's recorded in a bathroom and go, "Oh, that's what this is?" Then they're gone. So it's really a hard, factor. Now on the other side of it, like Anchor has come under fire. I actually interviewed Mike Mignano last year at Podcast Movement. And a lot of people criticize Anchor because that has a lot of people just getting into podcasting. I see that as possibly a good thing because a lot of new people getting into podcasting are bringing in their family and friends and forcing them to at least listen to their show. And you know what? While they're there, maybe some will actually discover some other stuff. It's bipolar though.
It is. Well, there's NPR on one end, and then there's the amateur hour, which, hey, like welcome to amateur hour, Eric. Like high five, right?
True. Hey, yeah.
Can you get the right side? No, other side. Other side. Yeah, there you go.
All right. NPR can be annoying too, though, by being too polished.
Well, yeah. I mean, because at a certain point, it's like, why not? It basically becomes like TV and big media, right? And it's like, how do we make the most perfect thing? But even when you break down like some of the shows that say are like reality type shows,
mm-hmm.
the ones that are more real than the other ones, like you can tell because the cameras and the camera angles and things aren't like perfect because things are kind of happening in somewhat real time.
Right. If they have a strong enough story, you don't care.
Right. Story trumps everything. I mean, I talked at length about that last night about story, everything you need to serve the story.
Sure.
And so I think, one of the things that I always was worried about was, oh no, like all of these celebrities are getting podcasts. So people are going to come into podcasting like, oh, I'm going to listen to the Paula Deen podcast.
A lot of them are the worst, by the way. I criticize a lot of the celebrities from coming in because they don't give a shit. Sorry if I'm cursing, it's not allowed, but they really don't care.
It's really not allowed, so you better scrub that out of your own. Write down your timestamp, sir.
Okay, 24. No. A lot of them will come into podcasting They just think, okay, everybody will line up to listen to them, and they will because they're a celebrity. And then people listen to the show, and it's like, ugh, it's really not that good. So then when they hear criticism about it, all the people around them, publicists or whatever, say, "Oh, well, that's not their real art. That's just a podcast." And thus we double down on amateur hour. So that is, kind of a frustration because not all of them really care.
Yeah, no, they don't really care. And but the thing is I mean, they have like Radio 1 or whatever. I don't know, whatever Podcast 1, I don't know. But they have like editors and stuff. Like they're just like, these people are just showing up talking into the mic. I would assume, I mean, maybe they're putting something together. Like the Ron Burgundy podcast. Like I've never watched that movie, but like the character is like transcended that. So he has his own podcast as a character. Is it any good? Have you listened?
No, but I'm not into that.
Yeah, I'm not into that either.
Bill Burr. Bill Burr is kind of the anti-celebrity because, I mean, he started out with his iPhone and talking into that, and I think he talks into a Zoom now. It's always in a hollow room, and he's just going off, whatever Bill Burr does. So if you see him on Conan going off, well, you hear the raw version on his podcast. I don't hear it all the time, but I appreciate that. It's him kind of working out material and being very real. And Brent, you're right. Alex may not feel too polished, but he probably feels a lot richer.
Yeah, he does. I'm sure he does. And Brent's saying that nope, he hated it. So love the movie though, which I never seen the movie, and
neither from me.
I'm just curious if he has writers or if he's just coming in and like,
Brent, have you heard Bill
impromptuing the cat? No, I haven't. I'm not. The name sounds familiar. I don't know. It looks like Billy Corgan.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Bald Irish dude. What do you want?
Yeah. I guess so.
I mean, well, I'm racing him.
So yeah, but my concern was that people were going to come and like big media was going to take over podcasting, and then we would become the pirate radio of podcasting.
Sure.
And
that could still happen.
It could still happen. I think I was a little premature in saying that because I don't think that's necessarily what's happened here just yet.
Well, I think that podcasting is closer to its roots of being an audio blog. And major reporters and things like that have started their blogs, but that didn't knock off the amateurs.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. I mean, well, there's always room for a butt for every seat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of butts for every seat, there is a seat for your butt at MAPCON 5 this year in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
This is called a professional segue. Thank you.
You're welcome. September 6th and 7th, 2019. I will be there. Eric's going to be there, and a host of other podcasters, including one that I have yet to announce. I haven't put her on the website yet, but She might have won an award that like is kind of a big deal. So I'm just going to leave that out as a teaser. Going forward. Oh yeah, there is definitely latency, Brent. This internet is bringing all the latency. So yeah, this year we are moving to Atlantic City, New Jersey. If we have people coming from Australia. Our good friend Dr. T, I'll throw his face back up here because why not? Is going to be in the house. Samantha Riley is going to be in the house. Speaking of Samantha Riley from Australia, I am hosting a private course with Samantha Riley that takes place on Friday morning, September 6th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and includes a lunch right after that before the conference officially gets underway. Friday, September 6th at 1 p.m. And we will be talking about how you can elevate your podcast and help turn it into your business, like both Samantha has, and I, to maybe a little lesser extent, have myself through MAPCON and through working with people on their podcast. But yeah, so it has been. It's just been, oh yeah, there you go. Yes, he will be. Apparently, he will be in that. So yeah.
Yes. All right. How about Dave Freeze? He's coming to Tyson?
Is he? I don't know if he's coming.
I haven't. Let me know.
him come through. Make it happen, Dr. T. Tell him to get his butt in one of those seats. Yeah. So the private course, like I said, it's 3 hours long. It was a huge success last year. We had like 10 or 12 people in the room, and then we had a private lunch right after the fact, so you don't have to go scramble to get something to eat and then make it back in time for the conference. So it's all included. You get your virtual ticket. You're getting your badge. You're getting your T-shirt. Have you seen the T-shirt, Eric?
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
I know. I don't know if there's a way for me to include it on here on screen, but but what I guess I should do is probably, I don't think there's a way for me to do that here. But what I could do is I can get Dr. T says I will see what I can do. So that would be awesome. I should get a link for the T-shirt for this year so that everyone can see it. I don't have one here, else I'd be wearing it right now. It would be quite awesome if I did.
No T-shirt, no cape. You're letting me down.
I don't own a cape. I'm one of like the other superheroes, like Super Spider-Man. That's what he's called, right? Super Spider-Man. He doesn't wear a cape.
No, he's just Spider-Man.
He's just see, because he doesn't need a cape. So yeah. Let me see here. So there's that is just some of the awesomeness that's going to be happening. The conference runs from 1 p.m. Friday all the way till I think it's like 6 p.m. Friday night, and then it's all day Saturday.
There's a dinner too Friday night, right?
There is not as of this moment there isn't, but
sorry, I thought that was announced.
Well, in previous right.
Oops.
Yeah, oops is right. So we very well may have something like that going on. I haven't made a formal announcement.
We will all meet up somehow one way or another.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Atlantic City, so there's plenty of places to eat. There's plenty of things to do. So and we'll get to some of the amenities that I didn't get to mention before when we get towards the end here. But right now, I want to ask, what do you hate about podcasting?
Social media. Sorry.
Okay. No, don't be sorry. Why?
I don't like that. I don't like show notes. I want
me neither. High five.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let me figure out which.
Now it's just me hitting your head. This is terrible.
Whatever works. Something has to happen. No, show notes, social media. I want to be a prima donna, to be like Larry King, pull up to the chair and go, who do I have tonight? And just start asking. Actually, I spent a lot of time researching too, but the ancillary stuff kind of drives me crazy. I'm like, I really want to focus so much on the show, on the content. I'm not very artistic. I'm partially colorblind. And it makes it really, really challenging to me. So it thrills me to death that you love my logo. Part of the mentality behind that was the guy who helped me with it made it really simple to where then I could take people's pictures and then stamp the pictures with the logo and have a consistent message through, but I don't have to struggle as much with like colors and patterns and things like that. And I think it still looks good and kind of brands it together.
I call it a fancy logo for a reason.
Cool.
When it comes to when it comes to like, okay, who do I have tonight? I mean, it would be nice to get to that point, wouldn't it? To be able to just like show up and do all that. But what I want to pull out of that was that you do an enormous amount of research for your podcast.
I do.
Guests, which I do not. So what, talk a little bit about that process of like, what gets you motivated to want to like do that much in-depth research?
It's kind of a respect. It's like, if I'm going to have you on the show, I should care, or you really shouldn't be on there. I know that sounds really cut and dry, but it's sort of true. I really, the original idea for the show was it was going to be like an idea pub, to where I would meet you and I would say, you do what? Oh my God, that's just amazing. Or, wow, how did that happen? What happened to you? And I just would sit back, have a beer, And hopefully the people sitting around were eavesdropping after a fashion. So to have the best possible show, one thing I don't want to do is go through your talking points. Like we were talking about booking agents earlier, Joe.
Yes, we are.
You know how they have one sheets, right?
Yes, but I have one myself. I haven't updated it in a long time because I haven't really sent it out.
I need to have one too, but what I like about the one sheets is it's a handy list of questions that I will never ask. Because I know that every other podcaster, or not every other one, but a majority, let's be honest, will go right through the one sheet, and the guest is prepared for that. And a lot of my research is I'm listening to other podcasters, and I'm listening for what is it that they happen to mention on the side and the host left out there, or is there something that they say that just kind of torques me a little bit? As an example, I'll be like, why do you think that way? You know, what would make you come to that conclusion? I don't know why, but I actually have conversations while I'm listening to other people's shows. And I'm very curious, like what makes that, what makes you tick? And sometimes I'll find a weird psychological angle or something different. I've talked about James Fallon a lot because he dropped that he was a friend of George Carlin. So I went after that. Nobody else had. He loved that. But I had another person on, Ben Cardall. And he's practically unknown by most of the people here, but he's an amazing guy. He is a mentalist, and he calls himself a deductionist. He's totally addicted to Sherlock Holmes. And he goes through and does crazy things like having friends send tobacco from all around the world, lighting it all on fire inside of a shed, making himself sick, seeing if he can differentiate between the smells of different tobaccos by somebody walking by. So hardcore. He also seems to be a martial artist. He smashes blocks, and I've seen it. He looks like he's probably a pretty big dude. But while I was talking to him and while I was listening to my other things, I just had this instinct that I could relate to, that he had asthma as a kid that caused him to be separate from everyone else. And then by being separate from everyone else, he started to observe everybody else and pick up patterns. Now I can relate to that. I had a lot of that too, but that's just an example of it. And so we kind of were able to take the conversation down a little bit of a different path.
So, Brent here said, I did a lot of research for our old show, but I heard an angle that by not doing research, the interest and curiosity would be more authentic.
Sure.
And we did get some canned answers from some of our higher profile guests, almost sounded rehearsed.
Sure.
When you're doing a lot of interviews, I mean, as a guest myself, I know I come up with a lot of because you're telling the same story over and over, and you're refining it so that, hey, when I get to do the, answer the questions on the news channels, like the morning news or whatever, right, I got that 2-minute answer, because that's all I'm going to get is 2-3 minutes.
You need that.
Right. Exactly. But not everybody needs to. And I think I think that's one of the reasons that, I think it could go either way, because by doing the research, you're getting to know the person, but you can ask deeper questions than just having the kind of, I guess, top layer interest or curiosity that you might have, and you might go deep into one specific thing, but you went deep into one specific thing. Meanwhile, you missed all this stuff over here and all this stuff over here because you went deep for one thing. And I'm okay with that too. But but by doing the research, you'll know all the base level things.
And I do suffer a curse of knowledge that has bit me before. So I totally agree with that. And I hear what Brent is saying on that too. That is, I have a built-in mechanism where if I start talking, and especially if I could pry open something deeper or just different, or I get a different rhythm, then I throw away the other questions. So I will very commonly have Jordan Harbinger. I've talked about this one before, but it's true. I researched the hell out of him because he's considered a master interviewer.
Hmm.
So if I'm interviewing a master interviewer, that's a little threatening. And I probably put in 30 hours of research on him because he canceled. So then I always research almost right up to the point I talked to them. Then he canceled, and it was like a month later. So then I had to do it again. But during that research, I suddenly came to a conclusion, and I threw out the majority of what I had already done. And that was that while he's known as a master interviewer, his show did not become gigantic by being a master interviewer. It became gigantic by him being a master guest. So I attacked him on the guest front, and not attacked him as in like confrontational, but just conversationally. How does that work? Do you consider yourself a master guest? This is a different track. Then when we tacked a little bit further, he mentioned something that wasn't deeply dug on, and then we started going to his past, how he helped the FBI catch pedophiles. So it turned out to be a very interesting interview. Guess what? Nobody's heard that before. So a lot of this too is, yes, I may not be getting the canned points. It may not be as smooth and polished, but it does stand out.
Okay, so I didn't know anything about that, but I'm not the biggest like fan of him, but not that there's anything wrong with him. It's just
I'll let him know you said that. No,
yeah, please do. You tell him Super Joe Pardo said, I haven't listened to your show. I'm sorry. I can say that for a lot of shows. Okay, so that's interesting though, because it took you 30 hours to figure out that that's what, the angle that you wanted to come from, and that you got something that was so different. Because you're
I didn't say I'm the brightest candle on the cake.
So Dr. T says, when they send me a list of questions, I ignore them unless it's a question that I think, yeah, that's a good question. I for the most part, by and large, I've ignored them too. And when I did take on a lot of guests from booking agents and stuff like that, I don't think I've ever really asked any of the questions that they sent. It might have influenced some, but my interest was they already piqued my interest, and that's why they got there. It wasn't because I thought like, oh, look at that question, I could totally softball in for them. I can't wait to see how they. Well,
and they're still useful. I mean, the questions and the descriptions still help me say, okay, this is who they are. This is what they're promoting. This is what they're kind of about. Is that something interesting to me, or is that something I don't like? Because both could be interesting, because I may want them on to challenge them. I had somebody on that was a medical intuitive. The show's not out yet, but I was like, one, I have a problem saying no to a lot of people. I'm getting better at it. But I'm not really buying into the medical intuitive aspect. So to make it more fair, I brought on previous guests, Jenny Aguilar, who grew up in a kind of a hippie cultish environment and is a brain expert. And I brought on Dave Freese, who we talked about earlier, who's a master hypnotist and was part of the God, I can never remember, a remote viewing program. The men who stared at goat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was part of that in the 80s. So I'm like, okay, this is cool, because a lot of new agey stuff is kind of hypnosis and placebo effect. So why not bring him on? Why not bring her on? She's new age. And then let's have a conversation. And yes, it wasn't just a chatty, friendly thing. It might have, I might have pushed a little bit. But I'd like to think that my audience, and that's something I learned over time, knows that I just don't automatically say, okay, yes, guest, I believe everything you say. I will push. And controversy is okay.
Have you pushed too far?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't get a ton of emails back. I might get guests annoyed. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I'm not saying from your listeners, but from your guests' point of
I'm not
view.
rude. I'm not rude, and I'm not out to hurt anyone. But I'm not just going to nod my head. And I will a lot of times say I kind of have to push you on that. My very latest guest, Chester Santos, I pushed back on a minor thing. It's not not a big deal, but he was talking about how unfortunately the most qualified person doesn't always get the job if they don't get along or they don't have great personality. And I pushed back saying that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I don't want to work with somebody I can't stand. And nobody else does either. So wouldn't you rather take a player who's not quite as qualified, but they're great to be around? So I do have a contrary nature, but that wasn't necessarily combative with him. It's just here's a counterpoint. Something to consider. I pushed you a couple times.
Wait, you did?
I did. I don't remember all of it, but I know I pushed a little bit.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I remember you going a little deeper into. I don't quite remember, but
it wasn't contentious though.
No.
It's kind of like we're in a pub.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of
it. So, Eric, where do you see your podcast heading in the future? I mean, I know I've asked you this off camera in a little bit of time that we've known each other, but what's the end game here for you? What's the future looking like?
Straight to the moon, man. I'm going to be gigantic, be huge. No, actually, that's a goal. That's everybody's goal. We'll see if we get there.
Well, first you got to pronounce it huge, or otherwise it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not from Philly, New York area. I'm from Arizona and now live in Virginia. I can't say that. But no, I mean, I just, hope people discover it. I hope they enjoy it. And I hope that more people discover it and enjoy it. I think that everyone out there, if they're honest with themselves, will want more people to listen. And everyone out there, they look at their stats. I promise.
Do you look at your stats?
Absolutely.
How often?
At least daily. At least.
I do too. Do you feel that it makes you feel better or worse?
I don't know, because you have to have a different pattern of behavior to compare it. So it's hard to say. I do think that I am less frequently looking at it than I did, or them than I did, but I don't know. I mean, it depends on the day, because if it's going well, ooh, that's doing really well. Ooh, look at that. Somebody just discovered that. Ooh, somebody just downloaded the back catalog. That's cool. Now, unfortunately, the stats aren't as clear as they were. It used to be really neat because I'd be like, what the hell? Somebody in Denmark just discovered the show. And that would always kind of thrill me. Somebody across the world that I'd never seen. Wow, that's amazing. I'm sure you have that too, right?
Yeah. It's always it's interesting because like I've done a lot of like British and Australian podcast interviews, and I have listeners in those countries that that I don't really know, but they're listening because it shows up in the stats. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I have Slovakia and Denmark and obviously Australia, etc. But it's just really cool. I don't have Libsyn, Brent.
No, I don't have Libsyn either. I use Blueberry. Who are you using?
Podbean.
Okay.
They've been really good with me too. I want to put that out there because they're excellent about really getting behind the independent podcaster, I feel. Let me see. Not so much with a bad episode. On that note, Brent, what's funny is I found that I'll be excited about an episode, and then I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then the numbers aren't super great. And then another episode that I've been kind of worried about and I almost sat on for a few weeks, and it does really well. Have you had that?
Oh yeah. No, I've thought, hey, this episode was probably not that great. And when I was doing the interview, I'm like, I wasn't really feeling it. But then I get people actually write back to me and say, I love that episode. It inspired me and blah, 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 blah. And you just never know.
So hard.
You never know what's going to like hit with somebody and make them like want to go out and, go do something, hopefully positive.
Actually, that's the other thing I hate most about podcasting is that I can't figure it out. That's a perfect example.
First off, you speak into this end of the mic. You don't speak in this end of the mic.
Oh God, thank you. Finally.
You're welcome. I'm glad I can clear that up for you. It's been fun.
All right, we can shut it down now. No, I cannot figure it out. You expect one show to do really well. It doesn't do that great, or it doesn't do what is expected. You get another show and you're kind of like, and that does really well. Sometimes in the editing, I'll hear a show go, oh, okay, well, I wasn't as bad as I thought. Or, oh, I was really excited about that show and I really could have done better with that. So there's that. It's kind of a flip. I don't know. None of it makes sense.
I don't really know either. And I would love to, if the Dave Jackson was here, he would probably be able to shed some more light, though. I imagine he would probably say something very similar, even after like 13, 14 years of podcasting. Like he'd say the same thing. You just don't know what's gonna hit with audience and what's not gonna hit with audience. So you just do the best you can and hope, hope for the best.
Yeah, it's hard to grow it though when you're like, oh, I'm going to do this and this, and oh, that's going to go over well, and it's like, not so much.
Well, and that's sometimes like with the let's make a viral video. Like you don't know what's going to end up being viral. Like some of the dumbest things ever go viral. Some of the things are like you would think wouldn't go viral, and then it does. So you just never know. It's really hard to predict that kind of stuff, and yeah. So I think stat checking. Like I check my stats probably about once a day. Generally, I just sneeze.
Well, let it out, man. Don't hold back.
I'm not. It just stopped. Oh, excuse me. So yeah. So for the future, you're just trying to get really huge and blow up.
Yes, sure. Better guests, more people listening, more audience feedback, and really to keep working on my own chops.
I think that's one of Brent's seriously leaving this time. He says there's a book called Hitmakers. It's a cool book about virality, Viagra. All right, cool. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate that.
I'm glad he's sticking around. Hitmakers. Is it on audio? That'll tell you if I'll read it. No.
So some fancy reading you do with your ears there.
That's right. Oh, they got it. Derek Thompson. I hope that's right.
Probably.
It is.
I'm sure it's going to say it. Yes, it's right. Yeah. So let's see.
Yes, sir.
Before I wrap up here with you, Mr. Super Eric Hunley, do you have any last thoughts about your podcast or anything that you would like, to share, like funny happenings or any upcoming things that you'd like to share?
I could share a motivational thing or something for people to consider. especially with MapCon. You'll have people going there who probably have not started their podcast yet, but they're thinking about it. Don't wait. Took me 10 years. I'd be a lot farther along if I had 10 years of episodes.
Yeah,
Jordan Harbinger's been around for 12 years. Now, I'd like to think that I've matured or I've been a different person in that time, and that's maybe a different host than I would have been. But the point is, don't wait. And honestly, you're going to suck for a little while. That's fine. Get used to it. Because you'll suck a little bit less. Sometimes you can't actually get good at something until you're doing that something. I'm also a runner. I've trained for some marathons.
Woo!
It's a very similar thing. It's a long slog. Your average marathon is not 26.2 miles, but rather 1,000 plus. Because it's a lot of miles running through the whole season to get there.
And then the race is never actually 26.2, and the walk up to the start line is never 26.2.
Well, and then they hide the finish on you. You're like, it's right over there, right? It's not. Son of a. Did they move this son of a? Because they like to, have it where you circle around a few blocks and between two buildings, and then through a chute, and then down a lane, and then across another building. You're like, son of a bitch.
I just want to get to the end. I just want this to be over with. How do we get this to be over?
Yeah, the 0.2 can be a nightmare.
Yeah. I've done that a few times.
Blame the queen.
Eric, so what are you going to be speaking about at MapCon 5 this year?
About researching guests. Imagine that.
You are the perfect person to do that.
Yeah, it's almost the marathon analogy all over again. The race itself is the shortest piece of it. The interviews themselves are the shortest piece of my podcast. The majority of the time is researching and thinking.
And how often, just for people that are curious, how often do you release your podcast? With 30 hours of of research to get one.
That's an exception. Most of them are 6 to 10.
That's still insane.
Now with you, Joe, I confess I only did about 4.
There wasn't that much on me, so it didn't matter.
Well, I listened to you with Tyson, listened to some of your shows, and kind of went with that, and knew I could talk shop with you.
Yeah,
I knew there were subjects going in that we'd have in common, and ironically, we're still interviewing now because we talk all the time.
Yeah, we do. Like, for anyone who doesn't realize, we talk almost daily through Facebook Messenger, which is always a pleasure, by the way. It's great to have somebody that I can talk to regularly about podcasting. And what really grinds my gears when I don't necessarily want to post about it on Facebook or Twitter or anything, because nobody else really some people on my Facebook would care, but like, very few would actually care. And I also don't want to come off as a salty person.
Podcasting support sessions.
Yeah.
That'll be a good show. Wait, you have to do it like an anonymous thing and make sure that you speak through a voice generator. I really hate it when.
Yeah, there's plenty of things I could talk about that I haven't liked about with podcasting over the years, but by and large, it's been a great proving ground. And I think you made a great point about how, if you're just getting started, start now, don't wait. And because and as Dave Jackson always says, like, don't ask when the money's going to come. Why don't you ask when I'm going to get good? And people care.
I'll give you an idea too that Dave Jackson will hate.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing this.
If you're nervous about it, go on Anchor and release a stealth show. Record several episodes. You can share it with a few friends. You can practice up. Then you can move to another host if you wish. There's a perfectly great place for Anchor. Or you can stay on there. I know people who are on Anchor and perfectly happy.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a hater on it, but I also don't. I'm not going to use it, so it's a little bit easier for me to just say, meh, I'm good.
It's awesome for practice, though. If you don't know what you really want to do, and let's say you want to A/B test or something, get on there and you could go and be silly. And the cool thing is that it is published and you can share it out with a few friends or whatever you want to do.
Well, Dave Jackson does do that.
Yeah,
He tests out other podcasting platforms as part of his. Remember, he's the podcast school teacher, so he has to have an answer for this stuff, and then just read somebody else's review is not good enough. It's got to be from him. So he's doing his journalistic duty to say, I'm going to test this out.
He does that, but on Anchor, he does that. 55 and frisky or whatever. He does.
Is that what he? That's a show.
And he's done Anchor Sucks. So I mean, come on. Yes, I know he's got a Podbean show out there. I think is actually testing it, but no, Anchor. He has a very special place in his heart.
I thought he was talking because he was talking about on the radio. I heard blah 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 blah, and I was like, some of the topics he was talking about, I'm like, I didn't think they would talk about that on the radio, and he doesn't really drive anywhere because he works from home now. So that was him. He was talking about his show that he.
Well, I don't know. Some of that might have been the radio, but he does a show. I can't remember the name. It's 55 and frisky or something, and he does it with his voice like this.
I did not realize that. That is awesome. But that's Dave, and that's why he's the Dave Jackson, doing the Dave Jackson kind of things.
You're Super Joe. He's the Dave.
He is the Dave Jackson. That came from MapCon back in 2 years ago, I think it was, or 3 years ago. Him being the Dave Jackson was in the room. And okay, so speaking of MapCon, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, it wasn't in Atlantic City. This year, it's in Atlantic City. And right now, we're giving a 15% discount off your MapCon 5 Premium or Plus ticket with promo code MapCon5. Go to midatlanticpodcast.com/register to get your tickets today. Don't wait. The price will be going up on not May 1st. What's the next month? June 1st. The price will be going up. Now, I teased earlier, Eric, about a person that's coming to speak at MapCon that won an award. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
That I don't want to say the name just yet because I haven't put her up on the website, but she is a Emmy award winning journalist that is coming to speak at MapCon. Yes. Yeah. Super pumped to have her come all the way to Atlantic City to speak. And I will be putting her out there on the MapCon website. Well, it's getting kind of late at this point, but she is coming from DC, and she has been on TV in several markets in the Northeast, and is an Emmy award-winning journalist.
So you're going. I'm hoping it's Cheryl Atkinson, but I'm sure it's not.
Nope. No. If it was, I would say yes, but it is not. But cool. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. We had a great conversation a little while ago, and she agreed to come on board. She is not a podcaster, but she does help. Yeah.
We'll work on that.
We will work on that. Maybe by the end of the weekend, she will be on board with being wanting to come on board with being a podcaster. She helps. She's a coach now, helping entrepreneurs and business owners craft their story and basically be better guests, whether that's on podcasts or on not like national TV. So yeah, she does some great work and has a long laundry list of also of other accolades to back it up. But the Emmy thing is kind of a big deal. So I'm like, yes, this is so awesome. I mean, I'm gonna miss not having the Dave Jackson at MapCon this year. It's quite disappointing. But
yeah, the Harry Duran.
Yeah, we will have the Harry Duran. That is I am looking forward to seeing him as well. So yeah.
Did we lose you?
So with MapCon, you will.
I think we lost you there.
I did. You did.
Uh-uh.
I hit some key on my keyboard and it dropped. It went backwards. I don't know which key that was, but with MapCon, you will have you will get your ticket. You will get your badge. You will get your T-shirt if you get a plus ticket, plus the virtual ticket. So you get all the recordings available, to you. And if you get a premium ticket, you will get yourself into the Elevate Your Podcast course hosted by myself and with Samantha Riley from all the way from Australia coming in to help you elevate your podcast, elevate your podcast to being a business, if that's what you're looking to accomplish. And
and book now so you can get a room.
Yeah, are
nice
you
place
telling me? Because I still need to I legit need to do this.
Yeah,
I haven't done it yet. So yeah, you might want to book your room. You can go to midatlanticpodcast.com/hotel and it should take you right to the booking page. There's actually a Thursday night room rate as well now. I haven't announced that until just now, but yeah, there's a Thursday night all the way to Sunday.
Now you tell me. I already booked through.
Well, you could update your thing. It's only like $110 or something for Thursday night, $105, something like that.
Saturday is like $290.
Yeah, I know. But if it averages out, if you stay for like a bunch of days, they actually show you it's like, oh, it's $190 a night if you book 4 nights. Like, thanks, guys. But you have to remember, like, that one of the downsides to it being that specific weekend is MapCon is running the same weekend as the Miss America pageant, which also coincidentally takes place in Atlantic City. So that's one of the things. That's why, even though it's after Labor Day weekend, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at least it's not Labor Day.
Right. Yeah. So, and honestly, I think, and I haven't figured it all out yet, but full transparency, I will probably be bumping the date of MapCon back into a little bit later in September for the next year. Good after idea. This year, because there's a lot of parents that have issues with their kids going back to school, and it's this like MapCon's like the same that weekend where people are going back to school and stuff. So, and if we plan on keeping it in Atlantic City, I haven't decided yet. If we plan on keeping it there, I'd rather not be the same weekend as the Miss America pageant and get like cheaper rates. So speaking of rates, other amenities that include like they have a Wahlburgers there right in the hotel. If you're familiar with the Wahlburgers and you look like you're not familiar. Okay, cool.
I don't know.
So there's actually like a TV show they have like during reality show. Apparently, it's Mark Wahlberg's brother.
Oh, Wahlberg, like the person.
Okay. Yeah, but it's Wahlburger. Like,
how funny.
Right. And what do they have? They have the world's largest indoor Top Golf suite, where it's all indoor, like virtual, like Top Golf. Which actually is pretty cool. It has like a base, like there's lots of different games to play on the screens. It's not just golfing.
Well, I will say my wife already found out that they have a spa and she's booked.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Like, go do your thing. I'm in the spa all day.
Yeah, right. And if you have kids, there's literally like right next to where we are is a whole pier of rides. But if you want to get the full
steel pier, right?
Steel pier where they used to have a horse jump off of a diving board and into like a tank of water.
Oh boy, that would go.
That was a long time. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. But at one point in time, it was a thing, and it happened there. So you could be a part of history and see where it happened. You could also, see all the other abandoned old Trump buildings that are. Well, there's only one. I think one or two. There's one now. One abandoned one. It will be huge and empty. But if you do have your family coming down, I would strongly suggest going 2 cities over 2 or 3 cities over to Ocean City, New Jersey, where they have they have 2 sets of ride like places, and it's routinely one of the top 10 family destinations in America.
Versus
So
Ocean City, Maryland.
It's way better than Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Ocean City, Maryland's has its appeal, but Ocean City, New Jersey, like the boardwalk there is just, it's awesome. I grew up going there. My kids love it there. In fact, every night I ask Ava, "What are you going to dream about tonight?" And her answer every single night is rides on the boardwalk. And this is a kid that's been to both Disneyland and Disney World not that long ago, and still dreaming about rides on the boardwalk.
Hey,
so
it's cool having a local thing. We have Busch Gardens here.
Oh yeah, that's true. In fact, I think I might be going to Busch Gardens in August. I think for like 2 days on the way down to Myrtle Beach. I think we're going. I don't know. Yeah, if that's the case, I'll have to let you know. Yeah, Williamsburg. So yeah, I will have to let you know.
Oh, awesome! There we go.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know all the specifics. That's up to my wife. But yeah. So if you have a family and you bring them down, you got to go check out Ocean City, New Jersey. It's awesome. It's a wonder. Like tons of mini golf, tons of like arcade games, tons of food that you wonder why like everybody works to get their summer body in shape. And then they go to the boardwalk and eat pizza and fried Oreos and all this other stuff. But it tastes great and it's awesome and you got to go. So, yeah, those are some of the other reasons to come to MapCon if podcasting. Headshots.
That's a big one for me.
I forgot about headshots. Yeah, so Jeanette Pell, and that's actually on my list here. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah, so if you don't have a headshot, and you come to MapCon, you're leaving with a headshot. Oh, look, getting them headshots in. Jeanette Pellegrini of JeanettePphotography.com.
Hey, that alone is worth the ticket price. Seriously.
Has been doing incredible headshots for us since MapCon #1. She came along. Here we go. I'll drop in the... It's posting. There we go. So you can go to Jeanette Pell. I don't know why I write HTTP:/. It's like, what's funny? It's like
but
www. It's so but the thing is, it's so out of date. But like, it's cooler to put in the HTTP.
Well,
even though it's longer.
Yeah,
it's a weird. I don't know. Anyway, you should go check out her work down there. That's just that. I'm not sure if she has another site where she has like killer photos. I forget what the other one is. It might be Jeanette Pellegrini.
Either way, I'm stoked.
I am stoked. I think it's JeanettePellegrini.com. Those are the ones that you want to check out. If you want to look like Steven Tyler, that's right on the front page, right on the front when you get there. She can make that happen for you. So you should totally go check out that site because that's where
I'll work on losing the weight now to try to catch up.
Well, you better work on your grandma look too while you're at it. Anyway,
scarves. I'll just bring more scarves.
Scarves, lots of scarves, all the scarves. So she takes headshots. They're totally free, included with your ticket. No matter what ticket you buy, you get your headshot for free. If you don't have a headshot, need an updated headshot, this is a perfect time to do it, especially if you're coming with your co-host, your podcasting co-host, and you need to get an updated headshot. Boom, it's right there. It's included in your ticket. You don't even have to worry about it. We make sure that we hook our people up. And there's more to come on the MapCon train as we get closer and closer with more and more announcements in the pipe. Eric, it's been a blast having you on here. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this and take the time out of your night. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you, man. Always fun to have.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I am Super Joe Pardo, and this has been my returned episode to the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference podcast, because it's got to have the word podcast in it twice. And I hope you all have a great week. If you have any questions about MapCon, please feel free to reach out to me at joe@superjoepardo.com. I'd be happy to answer any of them. I know people were still asking if they can speak at MapCon. I have a couple of little openings. I could probably squeeze you in as a spotlight speaker. That's another thing I didn't mention there, Eric. So if you're a first time speaker, you're a spotlight speaker, you get a huge discount on your ticket, and it qualifies you to be a featured speaker on next year. And next year you will get a totally comped free ticket. So it pays, because now you're going to be a spotlight speaker this year. Next year you're going to qualify to be a featured speaker, and when you submit, you'll be ready to rock and roll with your free ticket and a longer time to speak.
Very cool.
You know what's funny? You're going to be speaking about prepping for interviews and spending 6 to 30 hours or 5 to 30 hours on prepping for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
But you're only going to have 8 minutes to talk about it.
That's the trick.
It is a trick. It is tricky, but that's kind of the part of the point and part of the challenge. But the other great thing is, because it's one room, you get yourself the entire room for 8 minutes. How cool is that?
And for first time speaking, that 8 minutes can be a long time
if you're not used to it.
Absolutely.
All right, Eric, it's been wonderful. Everybody have a great week. I don't know when the next time I'm going to get to do this. Probably in like a week or two, probably like 2 weeks. We'll try to get another speaker on here on the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference podcast. Did I say it right? Anyway, we're out of here.
All right. Thank you.